Good afternoon. This is Jesse from PROMAN-erp. Today we're here to talk about requirements gathering and how to get started in that first stage of your process. Before we get started, we'd just like to take a moment and pause and re-emphasize the fact that we're the people that are here to help you. We're providing these videos to help you through your journey of selecting your new software package. We're the people that are here today and through the selection process, supporting that whole journey all the way to excellence in the future. We want to be here today, tomorrow, and always. Help is just a phone call away or a text or an email. As a reminder, we want to show you the stages that are typical that suppliers expect us to go through when we're going through the selection process. And the very first stage here is called requirements gathering and setting our project goal. And that's where we're really at today, and we're going to talk about that first. Okay, so in our previous video, we showed you how to set your goals and make a project definition. Today, as the second part of that stage, we're going to go through the requirements gathering and set the expectations that you guys should have before you go off looking at other packages. I think historically people get confused whenever they're looking at all of the features that people try to show them and demonstrate to them, and then it sort of clouds what it is that they're trying to get accomplished. So I think it's really important for you to stop at this point and set your requirements and say, these are the things that we're trying to accomplish before you go off and get, clouded or confused by all those other features and things that are going on. Okay, so the purpose of this task or this second part of this first stage is to take our project goals that we defined in the last video and turn them into what are our requirements? What do we need to run our business? And then ultimately down the road, we're going to try to match up some software solutions to those requirements and say, hey, who does these things and how do we see that answer? All right, so we should have a project team. And this step here of this requirements gathering is typically not done by our project leader. We need to get the input from all the areas at a company to make sure that everybody's needs are met. This is an ERP system, which means that it is going to affect all of the business processes in our company. So we need this to be successful and not have people come up to us later and go, hey, this doesn't do the things that I need it to do because they never got a voice at the beginning. Okay. So we're going to take those needs after we do this, and we're going to match them up against, the possible solutions out here to see, who fits our business and what we're trying to accomplish. So we've developed a tool to help you do this. And it's just a spreadsheet. It's on our website, www.PROMAN-erp, on the resource page. And we've gone off and generated a whole lot of generic questions. They're not every question in every business, but they are a lot of the generic questions to help us get started. And, so we're trying to break this into pieces so that you can kind of sit down and say, yeah, I want to do that. No, we don't do that. These are the things that we ought to be looking at down the road. And so we've broken this into these 20 some odd business areas. And we have a tab for each one of these areas. So you can just click on that hyperlink in that cell and take you over to the page. But before we do that, the idea here is that we're going to assign these to different team members to fill out and give us our feedback. So, on this summary tab, we're going to put down, who is going to answer these questions and when are they going to be back by. Part of this selection process should be putting due dates on each one of those 10 stages of the selection process so that this doesn't linger on forever. And so we want to really sit down and have some dates for all of these people and realize that sometimes, Jesse might come back and say, hey, listen, Tony's got to give us feedback for a couple of these items because I don't know what they are, even though they're in this category. Don't be afraid underneath the status to put NA. We don't do fixed assets in the system, and we don't think that we are going to do that. Our accountants or whomever handle all that stuff for us, and we don't have anything here, in that area. So, sit down and say who's going to handle each of these areas and which ones can we just throw away in the first place. Once we've given this to our team members, and they've clicked on this tab and gone into the one that applies to them, we're going to ask them to fill in columns, A through G. And what these are just a whole lot of, simple questions to try to figure out what your requirements are. Go ahead and update this. There's room for you to put more at the bottom of this. So here we've kind of given you a slide in here to explain what each of these columns are. So, column C is, NA. This doesn't apply to us. We don't do this. D says I have a sample document. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But, sample documents are a great way to communicate what we do today rather than trying to write that down or to write down a sentence about what this is. It helps to clarify what it is that we do. We've got special text that has to go out on our purchase orders. We've got, instructions that come in from our customers that have to get passed around, and that'll just help us to do that. So we really should scan a copy of that document and put it into a folder someplace so we have it for a reference down the road. Column E is we absolutely need this, and it should be included in phase 1 of our project. We do it today, or we're trying to solve that very issue. That's one of the business challenges that have pushed us into getting new software. So we definitely need to be able to do this. Column F is sort of, hey, let's do a wish item. This is really cool. Sounds like it's neat. We really think we should be doing it down the road, but we don't do it today. Be maybe a great item for phase 2. And then finally, column G is just some comments. Need input from Jim in production, for instance. I don't know that answer. Or maybe it's the document name that you scanned a moment ago. So again, just kind of defining what it is that we want the software to do for us. Okay. Team members. If you don't know what these items mean and what they refer to, schedule a meeting with us. We'll get somebody on the phone with you, and we'll go walk you through them and tell you what this typically refers to or what we're trying to ask. And many times it just kind of spawns new questions on your side, and either we add it to a new item in the bottom of the list, or we change the description of what that one really says right there to define that. And then again, don't be afraid to add additional items to the bottom of this. Just to include this, we didn't think that this was an all-encompassing questionnaire for every business in the planet. It is meant to be kind of a generic thing. It's attainable. It's something that you can review, hopefully go through in an hour or so. Say yeses or nos, not sure, and define that for us. We don't want to turn this into a multiple day event sort of thing. Although for a large international business, then maybe we do have to spend a lot more time and add a lot more pieces here. But again, it's meant as a guide to get you started. Okay, your project manager, keep a master copy of this spreadsheet. Copy and paste the tabs once they're received back from these team members and put in there. We want to keep this as, our starting point, and we want that to be defined out here. So, your job is to keep that master copy. And then second of all, you should be monitoring these due dates so that stage 1 can be completed on time. So, just as a final note here, This is a benchmark for your company needs. It's what we think we want to do before we go out and start getting confused and looking at a lot of other things. So let's just define what it is where we're starting at. We don't want to jump off to step 2 and then find out we skipped things on step 1 that we absolutely needed, and now we're in the middle of implementation and we can't do those. There can be an X in the need column that you don't do today. If you've defined in your project goals earlier in that first video that, this is what we're out to set to solve and the business challenges that we see, you might very well have an X in this column now because you think that that is how you're going to help answer that goal, even though you don't do it today. So that X can be put in here even though it's not a today issue. And then finally, again, to go over this, sample documents are a great way to communicate what your requirements are. Maybe it's that label that you've got to put on a package that you ship to a customer. It's an RFP, notes or part numbers and additional things that have to be defined. So again, all of those things there are going to help us define form, fit, and function down the road. I don't think that, we should expect that form will look identical to the way that it does today. Maybe we have to. Maybe there are standard, customer-specific labels that have to be done. But maybe the actual form itself might be different that we're going to send to that supplier for our AR invoice over what it is today. But the information on it has to be included somehow, and we need to be able to see that. So again, those sample documents, pretty important to try to start gathering at this point or of the process. Okay, and one final thing, it's our team commitment. We're ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work with you guys. That's the purpose of these videos, to help you through that process. We want to be there today, tomorrow, and the next 20 years. So, reach out to us. We're here to help. All right. Thank you.